Look at the sheer scale of this number, $137.6 billion. That is Pakistan's total external debt, and it is a crushing, almost unfathomable macroeconomic weight for a single nation to carry. While many developing nations are struggling to service foreign debts, Pakistan has become a global outlier. This chart shows exactly why. We're looking at the percentage of export earnings that go strictly toward paying the interest on debt. While many nations sit in the single digits, Pakistan is sending an astonishing 43% of all the money it makes from exports straight to its creditors. The World Bank has officially flagged this high debt-to-export ratio as a sign of a rapidly weakening fiscal position. When a country spends nearly half of its incoming revenue just to tread water, not even paying down the principal, it inherently loses its financial sovereignty. To understand who actually holds that leverage, we have to look at the ledger. A large portion belongs to traditional multilateral lenders, like the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank. But when you shift your focus to bilateral lenders, meaning debt owed directly to another country, one single nation holds the ultimate financial leverage. This graph breaks down the bilateral debt share. China holds the single largest piece of the entire pie, at 22%. That amounts to nearly $29 billion in loans. To put that disparity into perspective, the second largest bilateral lender is Saudi Arabia, which holds just 7%. This situation raises a question. How does a superpower collect on a $29 billion tab when the developing nations simply cannot pay in cash? When a massive macroeconomic debt cannot be settled with currency, the dominant creditor extracts its payment in strategic physical geography. This is the physical consequence of that debt: Gwadar Port. A natural deep-sea warm water port shaped perfectly like a hammerhead on Pakistan's southwestern coast. This map shows its strategic value. Gwadar is situated exactly 120 miles from the Strait of Hormuz, one of the most heavily trafficked oil choke points on Earth. For decades, Beijing has struggled with a logistical vulnerability known as the Malaccan Dilemma. Almost all of its global maritime trade is forced through long, highly exposed oceanic choke points near Southeast Asia. Gwadar drastically alters this map. Instead of taking a vulnerable 9,500-mile sea route to West Asia, Chinese goods can travel overland to Gwadar and hit the Arabian Sea in just 2,500 miles. This reduces physical transit time from 2 weeks to just 4 days. Gwadar operates as the physical linchpin designed to secure China's entire Western trade network. But the actual operational arrangement on the ground tells a very specific story. This port is not a jointly run enterprise. It operates under a 40-year lease granted directly to a Chinese state-run company. This graphic illustrates the revenue split. The Chinese firm retains 91% of the gross revenue from the terminal and marine operations, while Pakistan keeps a mere 9%. Making a port like this functional requires an entirely new ecosystem: an international airport, freshwater treatment, and massive expressways. And those projects are being financed through even more Chinese concessional loans. This creates a harsh paradox. The infrastructure required to build the port actively deepens Pakistan's $29 billion trap. Step away from the macroeconomic ledgers, and you find a severe human cost. In the Gwadar district, 20,000 local residents are facing impending displacement. Locals are losing their land holdings to foreign property developers, and the ongoing construction threatens their year-round fishing industry. This sweeping economic alienation has fueled the Baloch insurgency. As a result, the region has seen violent pushback, with attacks targeting Chinese personnel and infrastructure. Islamabad has responded to this friction with extreme measures, creating a special security division that deploys 15,000 military and paramilitary personnel solely to protect Chinese investments. The friction of an unbalanced international debt ultimately manifests at the local level. It turns generational livelihoods into displaced communities, and civilian coastlines into heavily militarized zones. This leads to a concern shared by neighboring nations and the West: the high probability that Gwadar will evolve into a dual-use military and naval facility for China. Pakistan has already received Chinese-built surveillance ships to secure the region, laying the groundwork for a future strategic naval presence right in the Arabian Sea. This loss of control points straight back to the crushing math we started with total external debt accounting for 352% of its exports. Pakistan was mathematically backed into a corner. When a nation reaches this extreme level of debt, domestic infrastructure ceases to be a tool for local prosperity. Instead, it becomes a geopolitical deed, handed over to its largest creditor.